In this video, I'm going to show you how you can scrape product data from a WooCommerce site using Python and the requests HTML library. So if you haven't got this installed, you can pip install it. Just remember when you're doing so, it is a hyphen in between these two words, but when we import it, it's an underscore. So the website we're going to be looking at is this one, and this is something to do with guitar pedals, and it's a WooCommerce site, and the easiest way to know that is to go to the inspect element tool or to view the source and search for the word WooCommerce. It will be everywhere, so we know we are doing the right thing. What I'm going to do on this case is I'm actually going to go through the main page and I'm going to get all the URLs for each of the items, and then we will scrape the actual data from the actual item page itself. There's a bit more information here, although in this case not an awful lot more, but we're going to get this bit of information down here, or maybe this as well. So I'm going to copy the URL and I'm going to paste that into my code, and I'm also going to do s is equal to HTML session like this. What this means is we're creating our session that we can then work with to get the data and pass it. The next thing I'm going to do is r is equal to s.get, and I'm going to give it our URL, and I'm going to go ahead and print out r.html.find. Now r.html.find is how we search within the HTML when we're using this package, and we need to use CSS selectors or XPath when we're doing this. I'm going to use CSS selectors, and I've checked out on the page here and I can see that there is one just to see that it works, and it's header ID header. So let's go for that. And ID is a hashtag header, and I'm going to print that, and we should get an element back, and we do. So we know that the page is loading and this is working. Sometimes I do title, or we just found whatever element on the page in this case. Okay, so we can get rid of that. Let's move this up a bit. So we need to start looking at where our products are on the page. So I've already opened up the inspect element, and as we only want the product links from here, what I'm going to do is hover over this to get all the products, and I'm going to go down into the tree here. I'll just close this so you can see me doing it. As we highlight the different parts on the left here in blue, and I want to get down to each individual product. So I've got them here, and we can see that they are all in their own div with a class of this really long name with a different number in, etc, etc, etc. The reason why I'm not finding all the links on the page, which you can do with request HTML, is that there are links in the footer that we don't want to add to our product list link, so we don't actually try and get the product information from these links, which I believe are Instagram links. So what I tend to do is I like to open up each of the products, maybe the first two, and see how the different HTML tags, classes, and IDs are, to see how far we can go down to find some that are that repeat themselves through all the products. So we can see we have this one here, div class col inner. This is actually quite a common class that you find on pages like this. So I'm going to skip that one. I'm going to go a bit further down, and this one has caught my eye here, the product-small box. I don't think we need to go any further down than this, and then the actual href for the link to the product is right here, so it's underneath it somewhere. So it's one of there. So we're going to copy this if we can, please. Thank you. And now I'm going to do, let's call it items is equal to r.html.find, and when we use the html.find with request HTML, it will automatically find everything in a list, as opposed to Beautiful Soup's find, which will find the first one, and find all, which returns a list. This always returns a list. So I'm going to say it was a div, I think. There we go. And there was a space at the end, which I've removed, but I'm just going to close this gap with .box. This means with our CSS selector that it's looking for a div tag where the class name matches this word and this word. So I'm going to try print items, and if I've got all of that right, we should get a load of elements back here, which we do. Great. So what we can do now is I want to create a function that goes through and returns all of the links neatly and nicely for us into a list. So to do that, I'm going to start up here, and I'm going to do, let's call it def, will define our function, get links. And we are going to give it the URL for our page, which is currently this one. So I'm going to indent this here, but first we want to remove this one, and we're going to put that here. So we can get rid of that. So we're going to keep our session outside of our function, but when we go into this one, we're going to do our r is equal to s.get with the URL that we gave it. Then I'm going to create a blank list so we can add things to, and now I'm going to do for item in items. You could use list comprehension for this if you wanted, but I'm going to do it this way. It's just a bit clearer for people that are newer with the language. And I'm going to say links dot append and item dot find, and we know that a link is going to be in an a tag, and I'm going to say first is equal to true because we came far enough down the tree to know that the first link, or probably the only link within this div tag, is going to be the one that we want. So that's why we can use the first is equal to true. And then we want to do .attrs, open our brackets and do href. So what this means is we are searching for each a tag, which was within each one of the items in our list, in our html.find, because this was our element list that we got back, and we're going to go through each one and we're going to create our new link list here, which I've called links there and link there, so we'll just change that, and we're finding the a tag, which is a link, the first one, and we are only wanting the attribute of href, which is on this page here. If I scroll down, this is the attribute here, the href part. And also worth noting, in this case, this actually returns a full link, so we don't have to do anything. If it only returned a partial link, which is quite common as well, we would just create a new variable with this part here and we would append it to it as concatenate it together to create a complete link with our string. So I'm going to now say, once we've done that, we are going to return our links. So I can now test a function and I can say, let's print get links, and we're going to give it the URL, and this is outside of our function as well. So let's just close that up so it's a bit careful, a bit more easy to see. Let's run that and hopefully we get a load of links back, and you can see that we have done here. So we've got a whole link. I think from looking at this before, there's 30 odd here. So that's good. We can actually find that out right now. It's always good to know how many you've got back. 36, great. So now we've got that working. The next thing we want to do is look at getting a function together that when we go to that page, the product page, which is what each of those links are, it gets all the information that we're after. So I'm going to collapse this define get links function here, so we've got some space to work. I'm going to go back to the web page and I'm going to open up the first product, and we're going to then scroll down and we're going to use our select tool here, and we want to get the name. So we can see that the name is here and it is in this h1 class of product title, etc, etc, etc. So looking at this, there's a couple of ways we could do it. I'm not seeing any other h1 tags on here, so we could just go for that and get the first one, or we could reference the class. So what I'm going to do is, now I'm going to say define, I'm going to say get products, and I'm going to give it our link, because when we loop through our links, we're going to give it each one in turn. And now I'm going to say r is equal to s.get, and we're going to use the link, which will be our URL that we got from our new function, our first function, sorry. And now we can say that the title is going to be r.html.find, and I'm going to say h1, and we'll go with that first. First is equal to true, and then dot full text. We're going to return the full text. Now I'm going to say print the title, and to test this, I'm going to copy the URL from this product, and I'm going to say under here, link is equal to, and then get product. This is just for testing purposes, and link. We could have done it a different way, but hopefully this will still work for us. Okay, it did. We've got the title back, and you can see here that there is a load of white space around it. We could see that in the inspect element tool as well. So all we're going to do is do .strip after that, and we'll run it again just to make sure that white space is all gone, and we have the text back nice and neatly. Right, we do. I know that works. So we're going to remove all of this, and we're going to push on and get the rest of the information. So what did I say? Price. So we're going to again want to do r.html.find, and we come back to the website and hover over the price, and we can see that it's here. And now when we look at this, zoom in a bit further. So when we look at this here, there's two things that I noticed right away. The first one is that this tag here, the BDI tag, it's quite uncommon. I haven't seen that at all much before, I think. But there's nothing else there. So we could just go straight for this and reference this tag. Or we could find it underneath the span class. I'm going to do that because there might be several of these tags on this page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this class here and know that it is BDI. And we can do with our CSS selector, I forgot what that was already. So we can say span dot, and again, put the dot in there. And if we put a space, what this is going to do is going to search for the first child matching this tag. So we're, instead of finding all of these tags by putting a space in here after this tag, we're only finding these BDI tags after this specific span tag. And then I'm going to do, again, first is equal to true, and then dot full text. Now, having done this before, I know that this won't work, but I'm going to show you guys anyway, and I'm going to show you how I got around it. So if we were to, let's say, let's print title and price, and then do our get product again, and then let's give it our product URL again that I removed, and run that. We can see that it's coming back at 0. Now that is not what we were expecting to see, because when we look here we can see that it's definitely got a 949. So coming back to our inspect element tool, if we hit F to search and we type the word BDI, which was our tag, and if I just remove myself, you can see that there are actually 11 different BDI tags. And if I go to the first one, you can see it says 1 of 11. It's actually got the same delta data, but it's at a 0 value. And I think it's to do with the cart price or the header. So if I go to the next one, that's the one that's got the price information that we're looking for. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use an index for this for the second BDI tags in line, as opposed to doing first is equal to true. So if we come back to our code, we can actually remove the first is equal to true, because that is not the case, but I'm just going to index it with 1. Now what that means is when it returns the list of all these elements that match this, I'm going to go for the first index, which will be the second one, because Python is a 0 index language. So if I save again and run, we should now get the $949 price that we were expecting. There we go. Okay, so we're going to, let's just move that out of the way now, and we'll have a look at getting some other bits of information. So we can cancel out of here, and let's get the, so we've got the title, the price. You could get some of this info if you wanted to. I'm just going to come down here and get the SKU and the category, because that's probably more unique. So we've got a span class of SKU, which gives us that data, so that's nice and easy. So we can do SKU is equal to r.html.find, and it was a span .skew, and we're again going to do first is equal to true, and then dot full text like this. And what else? Let's get the category as well. And category is down here, and we can see that there is a span with a class of posted in, which would have the word category, and then the version 1, which was the category. Or we could do something else. Because we're using CSS selectors, we could actually find this a tag here, because it has this rel equal to tag, and that has just the version 1 tag text in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that. So let's go ahead and go tag is equal to r.html.find. And we want to find it was an A and the attribute we were looking for. So we open up the square bracket because we want to search within the attributes of the tag, and it was rel, and we want to make sure that that is equal to tag like that. So that's the CSS selector that will get us directly to only A tags that have this rel attribute equaling to tag. And then I'm just going to do first is equal to true again, and then dot full text like that. So what I'm going to do now, I've got those 4 bits of information there. Let's move this up. I'm actually going to create a product dictionary, and I'm going to say title, the key of title is title, and because I haven't been doing any of the dot strip to remove the white space here, I'm going to do it right here instead. Dot strip, and then price key is equal to price. I don't think we needed to do dot strip on here, but we will anyway, just in case. And again, same with SKU, and then the tag as well. If you're doing tags on a website, quite often you get a lot of them all listed together. You just find out how they're separated, and then you can do dot replace. Dot split. So if they're on split by a new line, you can do split them on a new line, or sometimes they'll be split by a comma. And what that'll do is that'll turn that string into a list, which will then go into our dictionary like that. But in our case, there was only one, so we're just going to do it like this. And I'm going to do print the product, and then I'm also going to return the product out of our function that we've got here. So we've still got this get product down here on this one, so I'm just going to run that to make sure that this all works and we get the data back we were expecting. Cool, and there we go. So that's what we're going to get back for each and every item, each and every product on this page. The title, price, SKU, and the tag. I believe the tag's probably going to be all the same, but that's fine for just the demo. So now we can remove this. I'm going to leave this print statement in here so we can see it working. So the next thing we want to do is I'm going to close this down, and I'm going to go ahead and write a loop that basically gets all of the links, which we then save into a variable, and then loop through that. Because this function here, our get links function, returns the lists in a returns the links in a list already, what we need to do is just to go links is equal to, and then get links, and then give it the URL. So we're still going to use this, we're using this main URL here for the page, and then we're giving it to our get links function, which is going to return all of the links from the page. So if we print that, we'll see them come up. There we are. And now I'm going to create a new list, and I'm just going to call it results, and that should be equals to our blank list. Let's move this up. So what we want to do now is do for link in links, and we want to get product link. So in this case, for link in links, that is for each item in the list, which is a URL, we can then do our get product function, which takes the URL. See, we've called it link here, but it's actually a URL for the product, and we're going to do r is equal to s.get, and then return the product information. So now what we want to do is, instead of just bringing that information back and doing nothing with it, we're going to do results.append for each one. So I'm going to run this just quick to make sure a few of them work, and then we're going to talk about how we're going to save this and how we're going to output it. So let's run it. There's the first one. Second one is a different item. That's good. Third one, again, different item. Okay, so then we know that that works, and we're happy with that. We want to do something with this data, otherwise we're just going to scrape it and then nothing's going to happen. So the easiest and most common way to something to do is to export it to CSV. Now I usually would use pandas for this, but we're going to go ahead and just use the standard Python CSV library, just because it's a bit different and it's definitely worth knowing. So I'm going to import CSV in, and what we're going to do is, after we've collated all of the products into our results list, we're going to do with open, because we're going to use a context manager for this, which is always what you should be doing, because it will automatically close your file for you. And I'm going to call it, what was the category version? We'll call it results.csv, because we are extremely unimaginative. And we need to open it as a write file. And I'm also going to say that we're going to have encoding is equal to UTF-8. I'm doing this just so we don't have any issues, although I don't think we would do with this data, but if you don't set your encoding as UTF-8, sometimes you can get problems when you're opening it in Excel or whatever, or something else like that. So it's definitely worth doing. And for the same reason, we're doing new line is equal to this, just a blank, because otherwise it won't work properly when we open it in those other programs. I'm going to do that as F for file. You can call that whatever you like. And now I'm going to say WR for write is equal to CSV, and we're going to be using the dict writer. There we go. And that's because we are going to be writing a dictionary to our CSV, so that's how we want to do it. We're going to be using F, which is our file, and we want to say our field names are equal to results, which is our list, and the 0 index. So this will be the first line. So what we're saying is that these are our keys, and those are going to be the headers. So that means it's going to take the first line of the CSV, and that's going to turn it into the headers, which is the keys of our dictionary. So they become our header row, and then we add our new data under it every time. So that just stops us having, the keys of the dictionary all throughout the document, meaning we can't actually do anything with it. And now we want to do wr.write header, and then wr.write rows, and we want to give it our list results. So we're going to write the header first and then write the rows in our results list here. See how it follows it through. And I think that will be fine. I'll add in a print statement at the end just so we know everything was done, and because why not? Cool. So to summarize, we are using request HTML to do everything for us, to get the data and to pass it. And this is the website we're using. We've written 2 functions. We could have written a third one for the output here. I just didn't in this case. Our first one goes and finds all the product information from here and gets us all the links and returns the links as a list. And our second one is getting the data from the product page, which is what we got the links for. It takes each one, goes to that page, gets the information, which is here. We're printing it and then we're returning it. So we loop through and then we create a master results list with all of that product information, which we then write to CSV. So I'm going to run this and I will show you the results at the end. This will probably take just a minute to run. Okay, so that's finished. And if I come to my Explorer, we have a results file now that has all the information in here. So we got the title, price, SKU, and the tag, and it was actually 36, yes, because we got a header there. So 36 items. So that's it. That was quite an easy way, quite a cool way of doing it. We had a couple of interesting things in here, a few different CSS selectors that we used. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this one and got something out of it. Maybe if you're new to web scraping, this might have been a bit much for you, but follow along as best as you can, or check out some of my other videos that are a bit more basic. And if you've done a lot of web scraping already, maybe you got something different or new out of this. So thank you very much for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.